Some steam locomotives became legends in their own time, but some became legendary well after their time had seemingly passed. Such is the case of a locomotive that has called Altoona, Pennsylvania home since 1957. A locomotive that had an incredible impact despite having only a very brief return to steam. Pennsylvania Railroad K4S Class Pacific Type locomotive number 1361 was built by the Pennsylvania Railroad's Juniata shops in May of 1918. She was one of 425 K4 class locomotives built for passenger service. 1361 worked mostly in central Pennsylvania and New Jersey before she was retired from active service in 1956. The locomotive was donated to the city of Altoona, Pennsylvania, and placed on display in the park at the center of Horseshoe Curve, a few miles west of the city, on June 8, 1957. The locomotive remained at the curve until 1985, when the idea came about to restore 1361 to running condition. The relatively new Railroaders Memorial Museum in Altoona took possession of 1361, and a GP9 diesel was donated by Conrail to take the K4's place at the curve. 1361 was moved into the former tender shop of the Juniata Shop Complex, and work began. Time, the elements, and even someone shooting a hole in the whistle had not been kind to the K4 during her stay at the curve. Armed with a $50,000 state grant, their own fundraising, and contracted experts such as Doyle McCormick, the Railroaders Memorial Museum completed 1361's restoration in just shy of 1 year. In the wee hours of an April morning in 1987, 1361 sounded off to announce she was back. Some Altoona residents probably wish she had waited till daylight, though. The hole in her whistle made for an odd sound, but 1361 would later be fitted with other Pennsylvania Railroad whistles. The Railroaders Memorial Museum crew tested the 1361 on the yard leads around the Juniata complex, then scheduled a shakedown run with Conrail and the Nittany and Bald Eagle Railroad. Word had gotten out, and many photographers were trackside to document the event. Later that year, 1361 returned to the Nittany and Bald Eagle for several crew training runs. "1361 pulled her first public excursion in October of 1987. This was a run from Altoona to Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, once again over Conrail and the Nittany and Bald Eagle. The 1988 season saw another round of crew training runs in the spring. 1361 ran back and forth over the Nittany and Bald Eagle so her crews could get a better feel for how to handle her. 1361 had a few minor trips throughout the 1988 season, including some short trips to Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. The big trip of the year was York, Pennsylvania. The city of York was celebrating 150 years of rail service, and excursion trains were arranged as part of the celebration. In August, 1361 traveled to York. With a mix of Horseshoe Chapter and borrowed Strasburg coaches, 1361 led a number of trips out of York. These trips included runs to Menges Mill and down the old Northern Central line to Hanover Junction. 1361 had to run at restricted speed due to the track conditions, and the lack of turning facilities meant that the trips were run push-pull with the diesel locomotive. Despite all that, the trips seemed to be a hit with railfan and passenger alike. What few could have foreseen, however, was that these would be 1361's last excursions. On the way back to Altoona, 1361's main drive wheel bearings failed in spectacular fashion. The failure not only destroyed the solid brass bearings, but also damaged the main driving axle beyond repair. 1361 was out of service. The Railroaders Memorial Museum quickly embarked on the journey to bring 1361 back online, but a series of problems plagued the work. Between financial problems for the museum, changing boiler regulations, an ill-fated attempt to borrow the shop facilities at Steamtown, and parts of the engine being spread all across Pennsylvania, the project seemed to chase its own tail for more than 20 years before it was finally canceled in 2010. Recently, however, with the backing of Wick Moorman and Bennett Levin, along with the contracting of FMW Solutions, a new push to bring 1361 back has begun and is making real headway. One question remains, though. For a locomotive that only steamed in preservation for just shy of a year and a half, what brings so much interest to the 1361? After all, prior to 1957, there was nothing unusual or special about her. She was just one out of 425. Even in preservation, there are locomotives that ran for much longer that are all but forgotten now. Maybe 1361's appeal is because she returned to her own main lines. Maybe it's because she's the state steam locomotive of Pennsylvania. Maybe it's because she's one of the few steam locomotives from the Pennsylvania Railroad that has a genuine shot at running again. Maybe it's because the K4s were the iconic passenger locomotives of the Pennsylvania Railroad. Or maybe it's because for a brief moment, 1361 gave us a glimpse back at the glory days of the standard railroad of the world, and is just about ready to show that glory again.